Welcome to lesson 1.4 on standard form. So today's learning targets, we are going to determine the x and y intercepts of a line given an equation, and we are going to graph a line in standard form. So just like before, when we said we need 2 points to graph a line, that remains true. The points we're going to look at in terms of graphing this time around are the x and the y-intercept. So instead of the y-intercept and then using the slope to find a second point, we're going to just graph those 2 points, the x and the y-intercept, and then use those to graph our line. Okay, so what is standard form? It's ax plus by equals c. So to find the x-intercept, we're going to let y equal 0 and then solve for x. And then for the y-intercept, we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to let x equal 0 and then solve for y. Okay, so let's look at an example here. So again, for the x-intercept, we're going to let y equal 0. So that gives me negative 4x plus 2 times 0 equals 8, right? Anything times 0 is just 0. So I get negative 4x equals 8. Divide by negative 4 on both sides. So x equals negative 2. And we write that as a point, as an intercept. So it's going to be negative 2, comma 0, because x is negative 2, y is 0. Okay, let's look at the y-intercept. And so in this situation, we're going to make x equal 0. So I get let me backtrack. Negative 4 times 0 plus 2y equals 8. Again, anything times 0 is 0, so we don't have to worry about that. So I get 2y equals 8. Divide both sides by 2. Y equals 4. But again, we're writing that as an ordered pair. So if x equals 0 and y equals 4, that is my point 0, 4. So here's my x-intercept, here's my y-intercept. That's what we would graph if we were going to graph this line. Let's look at another example. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start with the x-intercept, which means y equals 0. And sometimes what you'll notice is that when I know that y equals 0, I can kind of just forget that term's there, because again, if it's 0, it's not affecting the equation. So I'm going to do 2x equals 9. Divide both sides by 2. So x is 9 over 2, which is 4.5. If we were finding the slope, we would want to leave this as an improper fraction, but since we're going to graph this, we want a number that we can recognize more easily, which is 4.5. So that point would be x is 4.5, y is 0. All right, y-intercept, we're going to make x equals 0. Again, if I'm plugging in 2 times 0 for that 2x, that's just going to be 0. So I'm going to just write negative y equals 9. I'm dividing by negative 1 there, really. So y is negative 9. And again, that means that x is 0, y is negative 9. So there's my x and y intercepts. Okay, let's apply this to graphing. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find those intercepts, and then we're going to use those to graph. So my x-intercept, if y is 0, I get x equals 9. Right? Because again, that minus 3y is going to just become 0, so I don't have to worry about that. So I get the point 9, 0. So let's graph that. That's going to be all the way over here, 9, 0. My y-intercept, that makes x equals 0. So again, if I'm plugging in 0 for x there, that x term is going to go away. So I get negative 3y equals 9. Divide by negative 3. So y is negative 3. So that gives me the point 0, comma, negative 3. So let's graph that. Okay, now I have my 2 points. So I can connect them to draw my line. And when you do this, you should use a straight edge to make sure you're connecting those lines as best you can. I don't have the capability right now, so my lines hopefully will not look as good as yours do. Okay, again, one more practice. Let's start with the x-intercept. So y is 0. That gives me 4x equals 12, which gives me x equals 3, and that is the point 3, comma 0. So I'm going to graph that. Remember, that first number tells us right or left, second number tells us up or down. Y-intercept means x equals 0, so I get 6y equals 12, which means y equals 2, so I get the point 0, 2. And I'm going to graph that as well. And then you're just going to connect those two dots as best you can. And there's our graph. One more example just for good measure, but hopefully you're getting the hang of it by now. X-intercept, which means y equals 0. 4x equals 24, so x equals 6. That gives me the point 6, comma 0. I'm going to graph that. Y-intercept means x equals 0, so I get 3y equals 24, so y equals 8. That gives me the point 0, 8. Let's graph that. It's going to be up here. And then connect your two dots. Oops, let me try that again. That's a little better. Okay, and that is finding intercepts and graphing in standard form.